It should have been an easy task, but of course, it wasn't. You know those Sunday mornings where the sun is hitting just right? The air feels crisp, and you actually feel like you've got your life together for once. That was me. I had this grand plan. Walk 3 blocks to the local farmer's market, grab one of those overpriced cold brews with the oat milk and the fancy straw, and just ... exist. Maybe look at some organic radishes I'd never actually buy. A simple, low-stakes mission. But for people like me, leaving the house isn't just a commute. It's a high-stakes game of human bumper cars, where I'm the only one who didn't get the memo on how the brakes work. I have this long-standing theory that some of us are born with a faulty GPS for personal space. It's like my internal radar is permanently set to magnetic attraction to the most inconvenient person in the room. I call it the physics of the socially inept. While normal people move through crowds like water through a stream, I move like a glitchy character in a video game from 2004, constantly clipping through textures and getting stuck on invisible walls. As soon as I stepped into the market, the chaos hit me. It's that specific kind of weekend crowd that makes you question why we ever left the caves. You've got the snail walkers, groups of 4 people, walking side by side at the speed of a dying glacier, effectively forming a human blockade. Then you've got the stroller SUVs, those massive, double-wide strollers that look like they could survive a landmine, but are mostly used to transport 1 toddler and a very expensive diaper bag. And of course, there's always that one guy who decides that the exact geometric center of the narrowest path is the perfect spot to stop, close his eyes, and contemplate his existence for 5 minutes while checking his shoelaces. I was doing okay at first. I was navigating, I was dodging, I was pulling off some pretty impressive lateral moves. But then, it happened. The first bump, it wasn't even a big one. Just a shoulder-to-shoulder graze with a woman, carrying a bunch of kale that looked like it was trying to start its own sovereign nation. It was a tiny impact, but in my world, a tiny impact is a catalyst for a total system failure. Instead of a normal, human, sorry about that, my brain short-circuited. I did the awkward dance. You know the one? I tried to move left. She moved left. I moved right. She moved right. We were locked in this weird, rhythmic mirroring, like 2 broken NPCs trying to resolve a collision path. I felt the sweat start to prickle on my neck. I ended up making this weird, strangled noise, not a word, just a sound like a balloon losing air in a very sad way, and I practically bolted into a stall selling artisanal soap that smells like regret and lavender. I stood there for a second, pretending to be deeply interested in the chemical composition of goat milk soap, just to let my heart rate drop. Why was I like this? It was just a shoulder, but in my head, I'd already committed a social felony. I'd violated the invisible bubble. I'd made Kale Lady think I was a weirdo. I took a deep breath, adjusted my sunglasses, which I was wearing mostly as a social shield, and headed toward the coffee stand. I finally got it. The cold brew. A massive plastic cup filled to the brim with dark, caffeinated liquid and way too much ice. It was heavy, it was cold, and it was the only thing standing between me and a total Sunday meltdown. I felt a surge of confidence. I had the prize. Now I just had to get out. I told myself, stay focused. Eyes on the exit. Do not engage. You are a ghost. You are the wind. But the universe has a very twisted sense of humor when it comes to people who think they're the wind. I was walking, feeling a bit more confident, maybe even a little cool, when I saw her. Not just anyone, Mrs. Gable, my high school chemistry teacher. The woman who, back in 2016, watched me knock over a tray of beakers and told me, quite literally, that I had the spatial awareness of a blindfolded toddler in a hall of mirrors. The trauma hit me like a physical weight. I couldn't let her see me. Not like this. Not as a 25-year-old who still looked like he was struggling with the concept of gravity. I tried to pivot, tried to pull a stealthy 180-degree tactical turn. But as I spun around, I didn't see the guy behind me, a massive dude carrying a literal wooden crate of oranges. It wasn't a bump. It was a full-on cinematic collision. Time slowed down. I felt the impact, first the hard corner of the crate hitting my hip, then the sensation of the plastic cup slipping from my hand. I watched it happen in high definition. My cold brew performed this graceful, dark arc through the air, defying the laws of physics for a split second. It was beautiful, in a tragic sort of way. And then it landed. With surgical, heat-seeking precision, the entire contents of that cup the dark coffee. The melting ice, the fancy oat, milk landed right on the pristine, white linen shirt of Mrs. Gable, who had just turned around to see what the commotion was. The silence that followed was deafening. It was the kind of silence that has a weight to it. I could smell the roasted coffee soaking into her expensive fabric. I could see the condensation on the oranges that were now rolling around our feet like tiny citrus-colored bowling balls. My hands were sticky. My face was a shade of red that hasn't been categorized by science yet. And all I could think was, I am a grown man, and I still haven't mastered the art of walking in a straight line. Mrs. Gable just looked down at her shirt. Then she looked at the oranges. Then she looked at me. No anger. No shouting. Just that same look of disappointed realization she had back in the chemistry lab. That look that says, "Oh, it's you. Of course it's you. Still the same, I see," she said. Her voice was calm, which made it 10 times worse. Honestly, that hurt more than a lawsuit. I spent the next 10 minutes on my hands and knees, picking up oranges while apologizing to the air, the fruit, the teacher, and the entire concept of agriculture. People were staring. I could feel their eyes, the snail walkers, the stroller SUV moms, the shoelace guy. They were all watching the local disaster area at work. Anyway, I finally made it home. I didn't have my coffee. I had orange juice and coffee stains on my shoes. My social battery wasn't just dead, was in the negatives. I was at negative 40%. I walked through my front door, feeling safe at last. I was in my sanctuary. No more people. No more crowds. No more Mrs. Gable. I took 2 steps into my hallway, exhaled a sigh of pure relief, and you know what happened? I bumped my shoulder against the doorframe, my own doorframe. The one that hasn't moved an inch in the 3 years I've lived here. I stood there, staring at the wood, feeling the dull throb in my arm, and I just had to laugh. I guess that's just the social contract of being alive. We're all just bumping into each other, trying to act like we're these sleek, sophisticated beings who know exactly where we're going, when really, we're all just one awkward encounter away from spilling our metaphorical coffee on the world. We're all just glitchy characters trying to navigate a crowded market. If you've ever felt like a walking disaster, or if you've ever had a Miko so big you wanted to fake your own death and move to a remote island, just know you're not alone. We're all in this giant, awkward bumper car rink together, and honestly, maybe that's the only way we ever actually connect, by bumping into each other until something finally spills. If you've ever had a social collision that still keeps you awake at 3 a.m., drop the story in the comments. Let's be awkward together. And hey, if you want to see more of my daily tragedies, hit that like button and subscribe. It helps me feel slightly better about my laundry bill.